Welcome, college football fans. Welcome to another episode of the CFP Roundtable on a rectangle screen. I'm your host, Sam Gillette. We have a great show lined up for you tonight with some old faces, new faces, and a new segment by none other than Pops himself. Pop, welcome back to the Roundtable. How are you this evening?
Did you just call me old?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Well, what's new in the pop world? You had a few fans pop in last week. Wanted you to answer some questions. Are you prepared for the same attention this week?
No.
Good. We'll get to it. Returning to the round table deep from inside Big Ten country is none other than Todd Sandberg from Todd Talk Sports. Todd, how are you?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, doing good. What's new in Todd's world this week?
Well, I got to play some golf today, but it snowed on Monday and Tuesday, so it doesn't happen much in Columbus, Ohio in November, but it's a good day.
Yeah. Making their inaugural appearance at the round table, nestled deep inside the Appalachians, is Dominic Crusetto from the Sunbelt Syndicate. Dominic, how are you today?
I'm great, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Oh, we're alive.
Nice. Very nice.
App State, they got a big game this week against James Madison, correct?
They do. I'll be there tomorrow. We are leaving bright and early in the morning to take the game in there from Harrisonburg, so there'll probably be a lot of streamers in the air tomorrow.
All right. Well, fellas, without any further ado, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Segment one, a little bit different from last week. The virtual locks tend to be Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Alabama, mostly in that order. Some people have different orders, me included. But we're going to talk about nightmare scenarios for them this week. Everyone knows that they're good football teams, but let's kick off with Ohio State. Are they going to lose to Michigan again this year, Todd?
Well, we hope not, but, until Ryan Day beats Michigan, I'm going to be skeptical,
Yeah.
That'll be my answer for now, but I've watched Michigan. I don't see how they're going to stop them this year, but I didn't think that last year too. So who knows?
Yeah. They have Rutgers and UCLA. Dominic, do you think Rutgers or UCLA can pull a 2018 Purdue on Ohio State?
No. As a quick answer, no, I don't. I mean, if I had to pick one of the two, I'm going UCLA. Just because we've seen them surprise already this year a little bit. But I don't think they have the roster that would be consistent enough to do something like that against a team as powerful as Ohio State.
Yeah. Do you kind of share the same sentiment, Todd? No.
Yeah, it would take an act of God here for UCLA to win tomorrow night. And the other thing is it's being a night game, and we've had so few in Columbus since Fox has taken over the Big Ten, and they always want to put us on big noon. So it's going to be rocking and rolling, and I don't think Nico will have the game he had last year at Tennessee here, and that wasn't a very good game. So I don't anticipate him doing very well tomorrow.
Yeah.
But any given Saturday.
We do have a fan chiming in. It's none other than my son and Pop's grandson, and he says, Boise, and to which we will say, hey! There you go, Brian.
Very nice.
So, getting back into the meat and potatoes of it, Ohio State, they seem to be able to, are probably going to win out as much as the people outside of Ohio don't want to see that. They have a pretty dang good team this year. But, anything can happen. No one thought Purdue in 2018 had a chance, and we saw how that worked out.
Well, I think for Ohio State the nightmare scenario for them in my book would be for them to lose to Michigan and then get kind of hammered by Indiana. If that could happen.
Yeah.
Then if you break down this SEC where all these teams end up with 2 losses, maybe you get a USC that beats Oregon next week and, propels to 10-2. Then you got Michigan sitting at 10-2 with about 6 SEC teams. Then all of a sudden it gets real questionable on who gets in. You can't leave Michigan out and put Ohio State in that. So that would be the craziest nightmare to me, would be to have back-to-back losses and Indiana kind of maybe not trouncing Ohio State, but maybe a comfortable victory.
Yeah.
You know, that would be the scenario. But
and we'll talk about it too a little bit later on. But you have, like you said, so many big SEC teams that are just chomping at the bit for somebody to slip up, and so they can get their foothold in.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Paul Fonball have anything to say, he'll put all 7 or 8 of them in there that he can.
yeah. It's, I don't know, if you follow the money, it kind of understands why he's saying
True.
that.
Yeah.
It's true.
Speaking of Indiana, does their perceived weak schedule haunt them heading into the final stretch, Dominic?
Man, you thought last week with what happened at Penn State that was going to be the game that haunted them, right? Go in there,
Right.
play a Penn State team who's lost their head coach, fired their head coach, and now what are they going to do? They're going to rebound, or they're going to finish out weakly? And it looked like they came on strong there in Happy Valley. Could have sprung the upset, but I don't know. To me, that helps bolster Indiana to some extent, right? Like we've seen them win comfortably all season long. Can they win the close one? Can they win the one where they have to have the 2-minute drill to come back, drive the field, and get the victory? And one of the best I think I've ever seen, especially that catch in the back of the end zone. So, I mean, I don't think Wisconsin or Purdue really are going to give them enough of a game. I mean, maybe they do get a little bit closer than what we saw in the early part of the year where they beat Illinois 63-10. But I still don't see either one of those teams, really the same situation as we just spoke about with Ohio State. I don't see those two teams springing an upset on them.
Yeah. Todd, they both have Purdue on their schedule to finish out the year. If, God forbid, or no, they don't. Excuse me. They don't have Purdue. Scratch that. If this was a recorded video, we'd be taking it back. But if Purdue can pull off a Buckeye, I read my notes wrong. If Purdue can pull off a Buckeye-style upset to Indiana, with Indiana's weaker schedule, with their only top 25 win being Illinois and Oregon, and Illinois been falling off since then.
Well, they also had Iowa.
Oh, and Iowa, yeah.
Yeah.
Does a loss to Purdue hurt their chances of staying in the playoff?
I think if they somehow lost one of these next 2 games and then lost to Ohio State in a trouncing, a 49-28 type of game or something, and we had the other scenario with the 6-7 SEC teams, I think it would be a lot easier to keep Indiana out than it would to keep Ohio State out, just because of name recognition and other things. I think they won't get the benefit of the doubt, I guess, if that happened. But I just can't see Wisconsin. And I watched Purdue last week for the second time this year. And, Ohio State pretty much, I mean, they were playing freshmen in the first quarter at, kids that were from the state of Indiana. They were giving them reps in the first quarter. So I don't see Indiana losing. Kurt Signetti's he's gonna trounce these teams probably by 50 points if I had to guess.
Yeah. And some would probably say that they're kind of like the Boise State of the Big Ten. They're good, but no one's gonna give them any credit unless they're blowing everybody out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pop, Indiana, Ohio State, they're both perceived to be able to run the tables to get out. It looks like that's going to be the Big Ten championship game. Do you see Rutgers or UCLA being able to take down Ohio State, or Wisconsin or Purdue being able to take down Indiana?
No, they may not have planned it at the start, but I think they've got weak teams at the back end so that they can waltz their way into the playoffs.
and of course, everybody did think that the Indiana Penn State was going to be at least a top 10 matchup at the start of the season too. So,
True.
Yes, Indiana's schedule has gotten weaker as the seasons come on too. So, Texas. Yep, go ahead.
And they got this week 11 bye week. I don't know where that comes in. I don't know how you get a bye week in week 11.
Yeah, well, I mean, Alabama gets Cupcake Week in week 11, so
yeah,
Eastern Illinois. So I mean, Georgia, who they have, the school of the deaf, dumb, and blind. Is that
Probably.
who Georgia's playing? I think I'd rather have a bye week than a cupcake week, to be honest. Unless your cupcake week's going to be bench players only, basically.
Right.
Texas A&M, our first SEC school that we're going to be talking about. Are they the most likely to stumble, Dominic?
Let me see. Refresh
They
my
got their
memory. on who they got.
home against South Carolina, cupcake against Samford, and then they travel to Austin to take on Texas.
Yeah, a Samford team, and I know a lot of eyes aren't on FCS football, but a Samford team who's also fired their coach with how bad they are. So not only are they not a D1 FBS team, they're not even a very good FCS team this year. South Carolina, I don't see it. I don't think they'll have enough to beat a Texas A&M team that's been looking really good all season long. Texas, obviously, there's going to be all kinds of storylines going into that one if both these teams keep winning. So yeah, I mean, I could see them dropping one to Texas, but I don't know. I would still favor A&M at the moment, but that one's not going to be an easy one. And I don't think it's going to be a Texas-Ohio State game that we saw to start the season. So we'll see. But I would favor Texas A&M at this point to go and do it.
Pop, Texas A&M could lose 2 of their last 3. And could knock them out of the SEC championship game. We've seen stranger things happen on any given Saturday. Would they miss the CFP in that scenario?
They're not as darling to everybody that votes as what the rest of them are. I think if their only danger really is Texas.
Yeah,
I think that game against Texas is going to be their championship game.
Yeah. Dom, we're just going to take Samford off the list right now, but of South Carolina and Texas, obviously everyone's consensus is Texas the most likely to lose. Is that your same opinion?
You said Dom or Todd? Sorry.
Todd.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
mad at Dom.
I think if the South Carolina game was on the road, I'd be more concerned if I was Texas A&M. But being down in Texas A&M, I'm not. We'll see. We got the changes of coordinators here at South Carolina. Is that going to make a difference? With the way Lenore Sellers plays. But man, he just has not looked good in the last few weeks at all. Absolutely terrible, quite frankly.
Do you think that they were playing? I mean, looking bad due to offensive coordinator. Maybe the team lost, or the offensive coordinator lost the team. You think maybe that might be playing a role?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he just hasn't looked. I mean, this guy was a guy they were talking about as a first round pick early in the preseason,
right,
in the NFL, and I haven't seen anything that would even make me want to draft him, much less a first rounder.
Yeah. Well, maybe they can pull it out and surprise a few people at the end of the year.
Yep.
Alabama's
if they pulled that one out.
Yeah. Alabama, I have them as the second most likely team to stumble behind A&M, and that's just because of the A&M Texas game. Alabama has OU, and then they got Eastern Illinois before they go to Auburn. OU and Auburn could be thorns in the side for Alabama, especially when you bring up the kick 6 game. Todd, what are your thoughts? You think Alabama can get through the final bit of their schedule unscathed?
I mean, everybody I've listened to this week really feels like Alabama's going to win this game against Oklahoma, but I don't think so. I feel like Alabama, if they can't run the football, which, Oklahoma is really good at stopping the run, so that kind of negates that step. But if you're telling me that Brent Venables is coming off 2 weeks of preparation to put a defensive scheme together to beat Alabama, I really think he can. And without their ability to run the ball, if you saw them play last week against LSU, Alabama, Ty Simpson did not look great in that game. He missed multiple open receivers. Even the catch that Ryan Williams had, he had to, skyrocket up in the air to catch that thing for the touchdown. So I'm really concerned that Alabama's going to lose tomorrow. Personally, I'm not concerned. I would actually think that's great. But if I was Alabama, I'd be concerned, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're going to do a quick little pivot here. We'll come back to Alabama. But, Todd, I want to get your boy in here.
Oh, boy. What's he got to say here?
A lot of nightmare scenarios. What about angel scenarios is what he meant to say. Like what would need to happen for Miami, Georgia Tech, or USC to get in? Todd, I'll let you handle this one since it's your kinfolk.
Oh, well, I mean, Miami's got to win out, and then they got to obviously have teams lose, because even at 10-2, then you start getting into the question, is it Miami or Notre Dame? There's a lot of back and forth there. Georgia Tech obviously just has to win out. If they want to get in, it would be the best for the conference, the ACC, for, Georgia Tech to win out. And obviously Pittsburgh can't win out, but maybe for Miami to beat Pittsburgh and maybe get into the I don't know where Louisville's at. They were losing earlier.
They're up 19-13. I think they just took the
19-13. Okay. And then USC, USC's sitting in a really nice position. They got Iowa this week, and then they got to go to Oregon, which isn't going to be easy, but they could, Oregon's, after they scored their first 14 here, they've kind of slowed down offensively here against Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then they play UCLA at the end of the year. I really feel like if UCLA gets to 10-2, USC gets to 10-2, they're going to have a real shot to make the playoff. So, they just got to, all those teams just got to win out, really, is what needs to happen here.
Yeah.
It'll take care of themselves.
Yeah. And like you said, the best thing for the ACC to get in is Georgia Tech to win out. If those teams start dropping, there's a very, very real possibility that the ACC, now whether or not the committee would let it happen, the ACC may not get any representation because it's only the top 5 conference champions, highest rated conference champions get in. It's not guaranteed that the ACC is going to be that one of them.
I think if Duke wins out and wins the ACC, and James Madison somehow, beats App State tomorrow and then wins out, and then you have USF or North Texas win out, I think it's going to be hard for them to get an ACC team in at an 8-4 or 9-4 winning the ACC championship Duke team. I'd put the 2 G5 schools in personally at that point, in my opinion. I don't know.
If that happened, we'd probably need EMS at Feinbaum's house. Probably almost immediately.
Well, could you imagine if Georgia and Alabama both lost 2 and got out of the playoffs and 2 G5 teams got in? Paul Feinbaum wouldn't have to worry about running for Congress. He'd have to figure out. His head would be exploded.
His credibility would be absolutely shot. Pop, what do you think? Do you think 2 G5 schools can get in?
I think with all of these nightmare scenarios that they should. Do I think they can get past the committee? No.
What about Georgia Tech? You were asked about Georgia Tech last week. We obviously got Haynes King, went to school right down the road. Dad still coaches here at Longview. So we've got some biased ties to Georgia Tech. What are your thoughts on them being able to make it?
I'll be cheering for them on the sidelines, but I don't expect they'll make it.
All right. There you have it. You heard it here first. What's your ACC championship game picks, Dom?
Oh man, I don't know if there's 2 teams good enough to make it all the way there. I am in Chapel Hill, full disclosure. I'm a UNC hater though, so if that makes any sense to you, I ended up here by mistake, if you ask me. But I think what I've seen from the eye test as far as Virginia goes, they're probably one of the better teams. We'll see. Tomorrow's a big litmus test for me for Pitt. I haven't seen enough of them yet this season, and that's my own doing. I just haven't literally seen them. So I'm on the fence about where I'd really put them until I really lay eyes on them. So it'll be interesting to see what can happen there. I'm personally okay with Duke winning the ACC because at least at that point, we are in a conversation for two G5 schools. I know that the committee probably won't do it. I agree with your dad there. I just don't think that they would actually do it. But I would love to see it if it could happen, and mainly just the fact that it would even be in the conversation would be a step in the right direction, representation in that regard.
Yeah. So coming back into Alabama, like you said, Todd, if two if Alabama and Georgia both drop and two G5 schools take their spot, Auburn and Alabama, does Auburn have that chance? I know they played a few teams really close this year, where it could be, just a turnover or a first down difference between losing and winning. Does Auburn have a chance against Alabama?
Absolutely, they do. I mean, it's a rivalry game, and in those type of games, everyone, whether it's Ohio State, Michigan, the Iron Bowl, or even UCLA, USC, or any of those type of games where you have two teams that, in that type of rivalry, any team can win. And Auburn, like you said, their defense this year, much like the Florida Gators defense this year, they've been tremendous. The problem is the offenses just are so terrible that they can't get off the field enough times in a game to win them, But I think with the new quarterback at Auburn, had a big game last week, went throw for like 328 yards. Auburn's got three really good wide receivers, leading with Cam Coleman. And their defense, especially at home, can force you into an ugly game, and when you play ugly football, you never know. Turnovers are, and one turnover could be the difference. So yes, if they were playing at Alabama, I'd say no way. But in Jordan Hare, what's Nick Saban always say? That place is cursed, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, now if Alabama comes out of this game against Oklahoma with a loss, then maybe it's a different story because then they're going to be a little bit more focused. So I guess it depends on how this looks this week. But honestly, I haven't thought myself that Alabama's looked super tremendous the last few weeks. I mean, look, South Carolina very well could have beat them.
Yeah.
Shoot, who'd they play last week? Slip my
LSU.
head here. LSU. Yeah. I mean, look how bad LSU played last week. I mean, it was absolutely tremendously bad.
Yeah.
And they still were in that game. Nussmeier doesn't take that one sack that got him benched. I mean, they could have scored there and, cut that game to one score game. And so, yeah, I think Alabama definitely has a chance to lose potentially two of these last three games.
Yeah. And if they do, Dom, are they out? Can they be a 3-loss team without an SEC championship and make the playoffs?
Man, that's a tough call because the brand recognition is going to carry more weight than it should.
Right.
Yeah. I would say if the committee has any cojones, they should not include them, right? Don't go off brand recognition. Don't go off past history. What'd you do for me lately? What'd you do for me this year? That would have them stumbling twice down the stretch. You got to look at all the other teams that you'd be including in this playoff that lost that many games in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm going to go on a short list and say almost none of the others would. So you're going to have to say we're going to elevate Bama for all these other reasons. Well, you better have some good ones because there's going to be a whole lot of other teams that have better arguments than they do and are hotter coming down the stretch. To me, that's part of this thing that the committee should just come out and say, right? We know that they say it when it comes to March Madness. Well, we're going to go ahead and put the team that was hotter or better down the stretch into this tournament. They're kind of more deserving. We want the better teams in right now. Just say that's what you're going to do with the CFP if that's the case. That way, when someone does lose a title game, but that becomes their third loss, you say, well, we don't try and punish teams that lose, but at the same time, we want the hottest teams in this tournament. There you go. That would be Bama out at that point, I think.
And that's kind of what happened with UNC in the March Madness last year. They kind of got in off of name recognition.
Absolutely, they did. Yep.
We do have a a comment here from Three Poor Decision. Auburn's path to victory likely depends on a strong defensive performance, particularly against Alabama's pass game and successful run game. Do you agree, Todd?
Yeah, I think that's dead on. I mean,
Yep.
that's pretty much what has to happen for Auburn to win.
And I think that Three Poor Decision should be in all of our inboxes at the end of this show, and getting our addresses so we can get flights of their specialty drinks. And our next show would be trying all them flights on air.
I will say we are scheduled to do a bourbon inspired show this Wednesday on our show, so that would be good. I was going to say I didn't know who they were, but Three Poor Decisions, I was like, that's an absolutely fantastic name. I love it.
Well, yeah. I can reach out to Jason and otherwise known as Bourbon Man and Rye Guy, and they'd probably love to do that.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And whenever they were on the commented last week, I says, yeah, I've done Three Poor Decisions before, but spelled a lot different. All right. So we're going to move on to the next segment. We're going to kind of get out of some nightmare scenarios, and we're going to see, are the next teams in line? Are they safe, or are they have a chance to stumble here? You got Georgia, who's at home versus Texas. And fun fact, Texas has played Georgia 3 times in the last 18 months. A&M's been in the SEC for 14 years and played them once.
Yeah.
Make sense.
Makes no sense, does it?
So, but they got Texas at home. Then they got Cupcake Week versus Charlotte, who Dominic could probably tell you Charlotte's going to win.
They are bad. If App State beat them on a down year like they did, they are a bad football team.
And then they got Georgia Tech in Atlanta, which that's going to be Haynes King's retribution game after last year's 8 overtime loss, where really it was his fumble at the end of overtime that was allowed Georgia to tie that one up. So is Georgia safe if they go in, they lose to Texas and they lose to Georgia Tech? Are they safe, or do they need to win at least 2 of the final 3?
I don't think they'd be safe if they lost to Texas and Georgia Tech. Then you'd have to ask yourself, much like Alabama, then it boils down to which teams have 2 losses and how many teams are there with 2 losses. You know?
Yeah.
If the Big Ten, like, I don't know, this is a real interesting call. I don't know if you guys are watching this Oregon game, but this guy just dropped the ball going into the end zone and fumbled it out of the back of the end zone. It could be quite the play here. But anyways, no, I think, do you get 5 SEC teams in, 3 Big Ten teams in? Well, I think it's going to depend a little bit on USC because, like I said, if USC goes and beats, they ended up giving a touchdown. If USC ends up beating Oregon somehow and finishes at 10-2, Oregon finishes at 10-2. Ohio State finishes at 13-0, and Indiana, 12-1. And then you have 5 SEC teams with, or 4 SEC teams with 2 losses. The SEC team with 3 losses isn't going to get it over USC, I don't believe. With USC beating Iowa and Oregon in the 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season. I don't think anybody can get to 3 losses and guarantee themselves a spot.
Yeah, not even with name recognition.
No, it didn't happen last year. Remember, SMU got in last year over Alabama.
Yeah, SMU was they were a surprise team last year too. Just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
they're doing this year what everybody thought they were going to do last year.
Yeah, and they still have a chance to get to the ACC championship game quietly, sitting out there with no one really looking at them, and they could definitely get there.
Yeah,
got that win over Miami too.
Yeah. Coming down the stretch, Georgia's had some close games. Are they the worst 1-loss team in the top 10 right now?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't like Georgia. So my biased opinion is Yes. I just, the way they win just is uninspiring.
Yeah. They lost at home to Bama by 3. They had the 3-point win at Tennessee, the 8-point win versus Ole Miss at home. They let Auburn and Florida hang around till the end, or till the final minutes. I just don't. I think they could lose 2 of their 3, and miss the SEC and miss the playoffs altogether. Let's put it with Georgia's defense basically winning them games because their offense is trash, and also their defense losing them games because their defense is trash. What? Sorry, I just cracked myself up a little. If Georgia only loses 1 and doesn't make the SEC championship game, and you have these other SEC teams win out, does Georgia get replaced by another SEC team? Dom, since you like hard questions.
I would say it would probably depend on who they lose to. I think if they lost to Texas and Texas wins out, that doesn't look so bad. And then if they can rebound and beat Charlotte and Georgia Tech, they would probably stay in, I think. But if they lost to Georgia Tech and it's, isn't it just last year they almost lost to Tech last time, right?
That was the 8 overtime game.
They should have lost before remember, Haynes King fumbled the ball with 2 minutes to go in the game, which if it was 2nd and 1, he got the first down and fumbled the ball. He gets that first down, that game is over. 20 at 27-20. But
yeah, and that kid's beating himself up for that too because he knew the game was theirs, and I had one fumble my entire football career, and it was on kickoff while we were getting blown out of the water, and I felt terrible. It wasn't a game deciding fumble, and I still felt terrible about it. So,
well, I think Haynes King is destined to win this game against Georgia. I just think some things in football, like the football gods, have got Haynes King destined. Now, he's still got to go out and do it and not fumble the ball, but I just think that they're going to win that game. I just think Georgia's going to have a really hard time stopping the quarterback run, and we're going to see how much Steve Sarkisian has tomorrow with Arch. I want to say Eli there. Arch Manning running the ball. How much of the game plan is going to be Arch running is going to tell us, how well Texas is going to do in that game.
Yeah, true. Dominic, how many SEC teams do you think are going to make it into the CFP this year?
Oh, I'd say 3. I'm going to say 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if 4 make it in.
Yeah. Todd, what do you think?
I think 4 for sure. The question's going to be, again, it very well could be 5 if the right thing breaks down into the right teams winning. Like if Alabama wins, Georgia wins, Ole Miss wins, and Texas A&M wins, there's your 4 for sure. And then the question is, what about Vanderbilt? Can they beat Tennessee at the end of the year? Oklahoma and Texas will pretty much be out because at that point they would have 3 losses each, and potentially 4, even if Texas beats A&M. Because you're not going to put a 3-loss Texas team in over a 2-loss Vanderbilt team. I just don't think they're going to do that in the SEC. I could see them putting a 3-loss Texas team in over a USC 2-loss team, just because the schedule maybe. But on the same token is USC doesn't, like, no one's complaining about their schedule. Their schedule's been really pretty challenging, honestly.
Yeah.
They played Michigan. They played on the road at Illinois. They played Oregon coming up. They got Iowa. They got, they've played a pretty challenging schedule overall for USC. So a 10-2 USC team would hold some weight with that schedule, I think.
And it very well could be, but I know the argument's been made by a lot of people in the social media realms of you have the SEC controls the or has the media rights for the ESPN has the media rights for the SEC, and then they're hosting the playoffs, so they're going to try and get the most SEC teams in. Do you think there's any credit to that?
I don't think the committee is going to. I don't think the committee works for ESPN. I personally would like to see, like, if I was college football myself and I was making a decision, I think it should be split up like the NFL is, where you got CBS and Fox and NBC all showing playoff games. And I think that would be better for the American people to get, because once the season's over, Fox is out of the conversation pretty much. CBS is out of the conversation because there's no games on those channels, right? So no one's really listening to those people talk. It's all ESPN from there on out. So I wish they'd break it up next time that contract comes up and have two networks carry it. Nothing wrong with that. It keeps more conversation instead of just Joey Galloway and Kirk Herbstreit. Two Buckeyes, by say, that drive me crazy. Oh,
well,
we interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you this important announcement from the Emergency Sports Broadcasting Network. Weak constitutions should seek shelter immediately. Pop is about to pop off.
This is where you pop off.
I've had it. I remember back when the teams never played each other and the committee would say, this team's the national champion. And there was all kinds of getting in, they voted wrong, they're bought, they're this, they're that. And so finally they said, okay, we'll set up some kind of little playoff thing, because we're all clamoring. It needs to be decided on the field. Doesn't need to have a committee deciding who's the national champion. It needs to be decided on the field. So they give us a little bit of a crumb. And then there's if you're not in the Power Five, you don't have a shot at it. Well, we'll give the top ranked bottom feeders, we'll give them their own little bowl game. And so, well, okay. And then comes along Boise State that kicks OU's butt. And all of a sudden it's maybe the bottom feeders can actually put a team together. And they're still clamoring. We need decided on a field. There's not enough teams in the playoffs. So they go and they give us, okay, now you got 12 teams in there. We're going to get the highest ranks coming in, and everybody's been duped. They're sitting back and thinking, okay, we got 12 teams on the playoffs, and we're getting her done. No, that's still a committee deciding at the beginning of the season who's got a chance to be ranked, and all here at the end. What are we talking about? Can a 3-loss team get in? Well, they got recognition. And what it is, my grandpa used to tell me, you want to know where the evil's at, follow the money. And where's the money at? The money's on the Big Five, getting all of that extra money from these playoffs, and then being able to use that in their conferences to get better facilities, be able to do better recruiting, more money for portals, and it's a monopoly. College football has become a business now, and some attorney ought to file an antitrust suit against them. I think we need to break up the Big Five. We need to set the conferences, get everybody filtered in, some low feeders, some big feeders put into the 12 different or 16 different conferences, and forget about all of this committee. Put them out of a job. Tell them, I hope you made enough money to retire. Go golf or go fishing or go something with both your thumbs, and then have it actually decided on the field. And they say, well, it was because you cried that we got the playoffs. No, they duped us. They did it because they get more money that way for their top 5 boys by going through the playoff scenarios. So what do we need? We need a true grassroots groundswell. All of you TikTokers, all of you bloggers, Facebookers, whatever you are out there, you have to be the Thomas Paines of the football revolution, like he was of the revolution of the United States. get out there, get the word out, start hollering at everybody, and make a battle. Make a battle. Get out there and make a battle to bust up these top fives and get all of the rest of us bottom feeders able to have some financial equality and actually have all of us have a chance to get that national championship. You need to lend your eye a terrible aspect. You need to become what they abhor. You need to cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. All right.
Wow. That Thomas Paine, man, we're going deep here.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
and I wanted to dispel the rumor. I did not personally know Thomas Paine.
So let me, on that scenario, Pops, would you be opposed to there being two divisions in Division One? I mean, we already have FBS and FCS, right? Like, what if we took FCS and took the top teams out of that? Your North Dakota, your South Dakota, your Montana State, the teams that are good in that realm, and take a lot of the G5 teams and then make a middle conference there, and that plays for their own national championship. Like, look, Boise State could win a national championship. That could happen. But the vast majority of teams, especially teams like in Ohio here, where, we got the MAC, like none of these teams are ever going to win a national title. But do you think maybe it's time to have I don't want to say a second tier, but another group that plays for their own national title? So Miami of Ohio or Appalachian State could actually win Appalachian State won national titles in division in FCS. Now they don't really have a chance to win it here. What do you think, Dom? Do you think that, like, would you be opposed to something like that?
I would be mostly opposed to it. I don't think we're on the same level. Don't get me wrong. It would be a long shot, and a dream scenario at this point is for them just to make the CFP, right? Like, to me, that's just the pedestal, and that's not even winning a game. I think fans would just go crazy if their team made the CFP. But I don't like it because when we made the move up from FCS, and James Madison won national titles and Georgia Southern won national titles, they've all made this move up from FCS to go FBS and have a shot at the biggest and the best. Now you're essentially getting them to move back down, right? Like, even if you say that it's not a move, it's a move to bring other teams in, it's still going to be looked at as a move down. What I'd like to see, and I talked about this with a college football campus tour guy in Boone. He was there for the Thursday night game, and I agreed with his scenario and hadn't heard it spelled out like this. Is pretty obvious, but I'd like to see the playoff expand. And his point is valid, and it's a good one. Yes, by expanding, you are going to include teams that have still almost no legitimate shot to win a title. Okay, if you go to 16, if you go to 24, I don't love the fact that it gets even bigger, but the FCS is huge, and there's every year the first round games, there's blowouts. But guess what? Everybody gets a little chance. Everybody gets a little bit of that playoff money. His point was, by allowing that to happen, allowing more teams in, first of all, the playoff brings in more money, right? They've got more weeks, more teams, more TV networks that want to bid on games. And then you're allowing those teams to also grab some of that playoff money to redistribute to them specifically and throughout the rest of their conference. And that's the only way that anybody else is going to keep standing a chance. Otherwise, if they don't do something like that, I guess I'd have to agree with you, because at some point you want something to play for other than a meaningless bowl game in Central Alabama that nobody knows is on Tuesday at 3 p.m. before people get off work, right?
Yeah, but you're missing the major point there, and that is that the majors, your little peanuts, $3-4 million goes to the guys that you let get in that you know is going to get blowed out on the bottom tiers, even if you expand the playoffs. But you got 5 SEC teams in there. and they're making $6 million. That's $30 million compared to $3 million for the bottom feeders. They take that $30 million, they upgrade their facilities, they spread it out amongst all the rest of their players. They get the best of the cream of the crop off the portals. They've got a monopoly on the money. It's the money that's got to change. And unless you bust up the top five, the power five, so that they're not all those power teams in the same conferences, you've got them spread out amongst, say, 12 conferences, give or take, then you got nothing. There's a feller I know that wrote up a scenario that you could probably read on
BroncoNationUpdates.com/STS
that has the perfect scenario for setting up some the way to bust this up to where there's financial equity. It's financial equity. Your little schools, if they were to get some of that money, it wouldn't take them long until they started growing. I remember Boise State when they couldn't get enough scholarships to be able to move themselves. Oh, you got to get more scholarships before. Oh, you got to get a stadium that holds more people, or you got to do this, that, or the other thing in order to climb up the ladder. Well, the biggest part that held everybody down was money, and there's a money monopoly in the Power Five. And unless you bust up the Power Five, all of the rest of the bottom feeders are bottom feeders for life. Beg and hope, like TCU. I hope somebody expands so that I can get into that league, or I hope something happens to where Boise State can get into one of the Power Fives. And these little guys are trying to just hope against hope that there'll be a crack somewhere in the seam that they can get in. It's time for a revolution.
Well, I can tell you this: there's not going to be a revolution. I mean, we can talk about it forever, but the bottom line is there's not. Now, maybe we need to look at some type of European soccer situation where you have two leagues and teams move up and down, you know. Like, look, I don't think Purdue should be in, if we had a top tier league, I would not put Purdue in that top tier league. Like, I would put Boise State in over top of Purdue personally. Purdue hasn't done anything for a long enough time they don't deserve to be, you know, in that. Northwestern, same thing. I mean, you know, I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, I'd want to wake up and be able to play for a championship if I went to Bowling Green University here in Ohio. I'd want to play a chance for it. And technically they have a chance, but they have no chance. I mean, they just don't have a chance to play for it. So, I mean, I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown State Penguins, when I was, you know, in the 90s, when Tressel was there, Jim Tressel was the coach, we won 4 national titles. And all those 4 national titles, they mean something to that school. Like, they are important pieces of history for that school. And if they moved up to Division I, they would never have a chance to play for a national title again. They haven't had a chance recently. Actually, I think they're pretty decent this year, but not that good. So I don't know. But I don't think they're going to break it up. I mean, I like your idea, Pops, but it's just the big teams just aren't going to go for it. It's just not going to work.
The money, they won't give up the money. They haven't give up the money yet, and they're just not going to do it. That's why it's got to be something grassroots. It's got to be a revolution.
Yeah.
Well, I think it could be a revolution, but I think the revolution would be the SEC and the Big Ten going, hey, we're going to go play over here. We're not going to use the NCAA, and we're going to go do what we want with our own rules. And I think they have the money and the power to do it. And then at this point, then the revolution has worked itself out, because then everybody else is going to be playing that lower tier football. And at that point, all those schools might as well just say we have the minor league of the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Todd.
I was just say I don't look. I like more football the better, because I'm a football junkie. Like 5 nights a week, college football. You know, I'm watching it every night. But the problem with expanding the playoffs too much more is, look, we're already. I mean, this championship game is going to be on January 19th. Like, how are we going to get? I mean, there's just no way to. The way football is, to have a portal, to have transfers, you know, all of this stuff to happen and have more teams unless we go and cut the games back. Do we go back to a 10-game schedule and then have, expanded playoffs? But that means teams that aren't getting into playoffs are only playing 10 games now instead of 12. So that's less money. So it's really I think the championship games are going to be gone here in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I think New Year's Day and New Year's Eve should be the semifinal games personally. And then we should play the Monday after for, like we used to. I think it should be on the Saturday after, but the NFL ruined that for us by taking away those days. Or maybe we could go back to the NFL and say, look, we need Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon, and you start your game at night, whatever, however they can work it out. But the NFL is not going to give up their money. But I just don't know how we can expand it. There's not enough time in the calendar. It just doesn't work.
There's some geniuses out there somewhere that can come up with some scenario that might have some plausibility.
And then you have the double bye weeks in these years now, which I think is ridiculous. But when you're asking to play these kids, Ohio State played what? They played 12 games plus 4. They played 16 games last year, right, to get to the championship. You almost have to have double bye weeks, to get through 16-game schedules.
Yeah, and I'm going to share this real quick. It alludes to what Pop's popped off about. If you want to go in and read my breakdown, it is bronconationupdates.com/STS for Sam Talk Sports. And I've got 3 articles there, 2 or 3, I don't remember now, going over conference realignment. And this is how I would realign the conferences for college football going forward. 8 conferences, 16-team conferences, each conference divided into 2 8-team divisions, and your conference championship is basically the first round of your playoffs. You have top tier teams, bottom tier teams from both the P4 and the G6 conferences in each conference, and most importantly, it's regional. You don't have USC going to Purdue to play a game. You don't have Cal going to Virginia to play a game. It's all unless it's out of conference. It's all regional. You have strong teams and weak teams in each conference and in each division. So if the San Jose States of the world, they say, oh, we're going to have a strong game or a strong year one year, they have a chance at making it. Each team would have a chance to make it for the most part. Now, it's important to note there's a couple teams missing off of there that are currently at the FBS level now, and that's some give and take. It's some give and take you have to deal with. But I actually, and to your point, Todd, I have a scenario where the top tier FCS teams can challenge the last place member of any conference in their region to move up to the next level. And that game would be played between the first round and the second round of the playoffs. You'd have a week there for the challenge. I called it the challenge week, and you guys can go and read all about it and how I would set it up and everything. And if you lose that game as a FBS school, you get relegated. If you win as an FCS school, you get to move up into the FBS level. So it makes the bottom feeders have to play and do stuff. And that's just something I worked on this summer and threw out there. And if you guys want to go and look at it and read all about it, you're more than welcome to.
I know I have a biased opinion, but all I can say is brilliant.
I do love it. I do love the idea.
All right. Well, now that Pop popped us off on a rabbit trail, let's get back into it. Texas Tech, a long way from UMass. Is Texas Tech safe? And if they've got, let's see, where am I in my notes? Yeah. So Texas Tech proven that maybe you can buy a championship. They went out and spent a lot of money on their football program in the offseason. They had the midseason hiccup against Arizona State, but other than that, they've been winning pretty handedly. They've got games at home versus UCF and West Virginia, or excuse me, at West Virginia, and then they finished the regular season. Nope, they finished the regular season at West Virginia. So if they finish the regular season with one loss, everyone kind of figures they're a lock.
Yep.
If they
yeah, they're a lock for sure. If like the only way they're a lock for sure. I mean, unless somehow they end up with 2 losses, and that loss would have to probably come to that West Virginia game could be tricky, man. Rich Rod's got West Virginia playing better right now.
Yeah.
That it's going to be cold. It's going to be probably bad weather in West Virginia on the 29th of November, more than likely. And that could be a tricky game. But who, you got BYU and Cincinnati. They play, is that this weekend or next weekend? So that's going to knock one
weekend, Cincinnati next weekend, and then they close the year at UCF.
Yeah, so Cincinnati still has a chance to get to the championship game. BYU still has a chance. I'm thinking, like, Cincinnati. Who do they got here? They've played Arizona this week, which could be tricky. They got at TCU and BYU. I'm thinking if I'm the Big 12, I'm hoping that BYU and Cincinnati somehow get wiped out and Utah gets in to the championship game. Because what I saw with BYU last week, I don't think they can handle Texas Tech again. I just don't think they can, even on a neutral site field. That game was not very pretty for BYU.
No. Yeah. Does Texas Tech have the safest path to the CFP?
I don't know if it's safest, but I think they've got a pretty clear path.
Yeah. A quick update: Clemson just took the lead against Louisville, 20-19, with 7 minutes to play. So,
and Louisville's
driving
within
there,
the
bro.
30.
Just
all right,
already back in scoring position.
Good times, good times.
On a double reverse flea flicker screen pass that picked up 60 yards.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
Reminds me of Boise State.
I think Old Miss has the easiest chance to get to the playoffs here. By far, they have the best route. More than likely, if things just go scratch here, they don't have to play in the SEC championship game. They're going to end up at 11-1, and they have the best chance. In my opinion, they could end up with a top 4 seed, kind of by default, as these other teams beat each other into spots. So I think Ole Miss has they're the leader in the clubhouse to get in this position, in my opinion, because they play Mississippi State, which is not a terrible team, and they play Florida, but they have Florida at home. Yeah. So I think they've got the easiest path personally.
Yeah, and they should win out. I got a theory, though, a conspiracy theory. A lot of people think Kiffin's going to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And my conspiracy theory is, if Kiffin is really going to go to Florida, does he tank Ole Miss against Florida and to gain favor with Florida fans before he gets there?
Man, how's he going to tank it, though? Because Florida's offense is just brutally bad.
But they also played tough against Georgia.
Yeah, but remember, Georgia's offense didn't play very well that day either. I think Florida's defense is top 5 defense in the country, considering what they have to deal with every week.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it would be challenging.
I mean, you look at Ole Miss, though. They've proven to be shaky this season. They had the 7-point win at Kentucky, only 5-point win at home versus LSU, the 3-point win at home versus a Washington State team that's absolutely horrible this year.
Yeah.
They only had the 8-point loss to Georgia. And then you got Florida. They're a dumpster fire this year, but they could still put together a game. And then Mississippi State. So who shown flashes of brilliance, like the first 3 quarters against Texas, and also consistent disappointments like the fourth quarter against Texas. So it wouldn't be too far out there to say, oh, well, we just didn't have them break our way this time.
Yeah, but I still think that even if they lose to Florida, they're still going to be a playoff team at 2 losses in the SEC.
Yeah. Pop, what do you think? You think a Florida loss or God forbid, a Mississippi State loss in that rivalry type game? You think Ole Miss can make the playoffs? You think they're a lock?
After I listen to you guys, I don't think anybody's a lock.
Well, nobody is a lock. I mean, there's no lock.
I mean, you guys pull out things that I go, where in the hell did you come up with that at?
Well,
Yeah,
I always thought this was going to be like the 2007 season. And if you remember the 2007 season, we got right to this point here. The number 1 team in the country, the Ohio State Buckeyes. I was at the game. Juice Williams from Illinois ends up pulling that game out. We had other losses in those things. And so if it's anything like that, we are in for the next 3 weeks of absolute potential chaos. You know, it could happen. And the games are in front of us for it to happen. It's just the question is it going to happen?
Yeah. Right now, Oregon's up 28-6 on Minnesota. Their only loss is the 10-point loss to Indiana. And they kind of have a tricky schedule to close out the season at home versus Minnesota now, which is not as tricky as what I thought it was going to be. And then they've got USC at home, and then they've got to go to Washington. Do you think they could lose those final 2 games?
I think they surely could lose one.
Yeah. Dom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that if you're looking at it, comparing it to everybody else, they might be the most – it's hard to say because I've been really impressed with Oregon. And I think Todd was saying that earlier. I think, you know, they're a really good team. But, I mean, these are also good teams that they're matching up against. So, yeah, I mean, they could slip up here, and that would – doom their season probably, I think, at that point.
Pop of Washington, of course, they're not going to lose to Minnesota unless Minnesota has an absolute killer second half.
Unless they start rowing the boat, right?
Right.
Yeah, they're going to have to row a couple boats.
They've already rowed the boat back home. They're already at home. USC and Washington, I'm guessing based on your hatred for USC, I'm guessing I can guess your answer to this. But USC and Washington, who's got the most likely chance to beat Oregon?
Washington. I know they don't have Blunt now, but they'll still give him a black eye.
And for those who don't remember, LeGarrette Blunt, famous for throwing punches at oh, geez. There's going to be a Boise State fan in the comments that's going to kill me for not remembering the dude's name. Anyway,
end up in
the
the
end of the game. So,
yeah.
I think Washington's going to be a really tricky game, especially being in Washington. That has cause to be concerned. Dominic, is Oregon the most likely to miss the playoffs if they lose a game?
Just one game?
Just one game.
Wait, one more game?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So a total of 2 losses.
Yeah. As a 2-loss team, when you have teams like Texas, especially if they beat either Georgia or A&M, just one of those teams, not both of them. And then you got OU if they beat Alabama this week. You have teams like that lying in wake in the SEC. If Oregon stumbles against anybody left on their schedule, with the perceived SEC bias of the CFP and the media, does Oregon drop out in favor of one of those SEC teams?
Mm-hmm. It's it's hard to know because exactly how the scenarios would play out, right? But I'd be hard pressed by the eye test only. I'll say that part.
Yeah.
By the eye test only to say Oregon's not one of the 12 best teams that could win a national title. So I would say that I would personally put them in if they only suffered one more loss and it was to USC. I'd still think that they probably should be in the field.
All right, Todd, what do you think? With one more loss, does that take them out, or is it going to have to take 2 losses to drop them out?
No, I think it'd have to take 2 losses for sure to drop them out. We keep coming back with these scenarios, and the problem is there's only 12 teams. We know we're going to get a group of 5 team in for sure, right? And we know we're going to get I think at this point we're probably only looking at one Big 12 team, unless somehow somebody else beats Texas Tech and gets in there. And then the question is, do you put that? The question is, at the end of the day, we might have too many 2-loss teams to get them all in.
Right.
And at that point, who has the weakest schedule? And in that scenario, I think it boils down to probably Oregon. And, depending on who they lose to.
Yeah. And I think we're going to have a lot to talk about next week, depending on how these games this week pan out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just glanced down at my phone and noticed Clemson has the ball and Louisville doesn't have any points.
No, Louisville just
they
missed a field goal.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, but now Clemson's at 4th and 6 here. So, man, Klubnik, you talk about a guy that just, oh my gosh, 5-star that's turned into a nothing here.
Yeah. Well, fellas, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break, get you a drink, stretch. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the G5 carousel and then wrap up with our predictions. So we're going to take a quick 2-minute break here. If you guys, just real quick, if you want to advertise with us, reach out, samtalksports.com or at iCloud.com. If you want to advertise with the show, we'd be happy to help out with that and get you some notoriety to all of our tens of people. But we're growing. I mean, I see more people in here this week than what we had in past weeks. So I'm excited to see this show take off and see where it leads us. But reach out if you want to do some advertising with us, and we'll put you in on the ground floor. So we'll be back in a couple minutes. Yes,
Clemson just fumbled the ball on a snap on a punt, and they just gave the ball to Louisville to win the game here.
All right, we'll be back. All right, welcome back to the CFP roundtable, and Dominic, I forgot an S. I forgot I put you in that ad break right there.
It's all
All right. Well, let's jump into some G5 scenarios. Last week, the G5 favorite Memphis. This week, it's South Florida. Let's dive in and see where we think it's all going to end up at. And Pop has some interesting questions here coming up when we get into the games of the week as well. But South Florida, they got wins over Boise State and Florida to start the year. Of course, the Florida game's not as impressive now as what it once was. And then they got trounced by Miami and lost to Memphis. And then they've blown out everybody else, including North Texas. But that game was marred by a lot of third quarter mishaps that really made that game get out of control. Dominic, as our resident G5 rep, deep in the Appalachians, what do you think of South Florida? Do you think they can keep their high level of play right now, or do you see another stumbling block for them?
Oh, well, Navy could be a stumbling block. I don't know if Navy's got the team to do it, though. I think USF probably wins out to get to the American Championship. I'm not sure who they'll face and how much that could propel them further. But I think now they're in the driver's seat. They've got the spot as it sits. So it's going to be hard for someone to displace them without a loss. So I think as long as they win, they're in type of situation. To be honest with you, I don't see anybody improving their resume more than what South Florida has done, unless South Florida drops a game, and I'm not sure I see that until at least the conference championship.
Yeah, and Hovarth, game time decision for Navy. Todd, have you heard? I know you're a Navy fan. Have you heard if he's actually going to get the start this week yet or not?
I have not heard if he's going to start or not.
If he's playing, that gives them the best chance to win. If not, I actually took a huge gamble in hopes that this is such a big game, and they sat him out last week because Notre Dame game is important, but not as important as a conference win to get you into the conference championship game. So do you think I took the gamble and picked Navy over USF this year in my pick'em group, hoping that Hovarth is in. If Hovarth can go, can Navy beat USF?
Well, yeah, they can. It would take a pretty good performance. The question is, I feel like, don't they got to play Memphis first?
They
play USF first and then Memphis. Okay, yeah.
They're playing this week.
Yeah, so they're you know what? I had high hopes for Navy this year, but man, they just haven't been able to stop the pass at all.
Yeah.
They just can't stop the pass. Blake Horvath's playing. I don't think he's having the year he had last year this year offensively. I just don't. As much as I'd like Navy to win it, I just don't think they can. I just don't think it can beat USF. USF looks pretty dominant.
Yeah. I think if USF is going to lose another game, it's probably going to end up being in the AAC championship game against either Tulane or probably North Texas, one of those two. It'll be a rematch of the USF North Texas game for sure. Pop, do you think they'll make the CFP, or do you think a loss in the conference championship game is going to keep them out?
I think USF's going.
You heard it here first, folks.
Even with the loss in the conference championship game?
No,
if they win out, he means.
Yeah, I think they're going to win out. I just think they're hungry, and they're just going to win out.
Yeah, I agree with them. Really, honestly, I think USF has a a really great chance to win out for sure. And who are they going to play though? It's is it North Texas? Is it East Carolina? Is it Tulane?
Yes.
It's not Memphis, and it's probably not going to be Navy because they're going to knock Navy out this week.
Yeah.
So how are they going to get this? Because they don't really play each other here. East Carolina's got Memphis, UTSA, and FAU. Tulane's got FAU, Temple, and Charlotte maybe?
Yep.
And North Texas has UAB, Rice, and Temple. So none of these teams are playing each other. So I don't know who's going to end up, on that other thing. I like North Texas. I think if they didn't make the mistakes against USF, that game kind of, like you said, got out of control in the third quarter.
Yeah.
But their running game is really, really solid.
Yeah. And like you said, it's that third quarter is really the only thing that's keeping North Texas out of the CFP talks right now, whenever you look at it. Will the AAC get the bid no matter what, no matter who wins the conference championship? With so many one-loss, I think maybe if Eastern Carolina, maybe if they are able to pull it out, they might pick a JMU or if a Mountain West Conference champion can get up there higher, maybe them. But do you see a scenario where the AAC conference champion doesn't make the CFP?
Yep. I think with that beatdown that San Diego State took last week to Hawaii, and boy, what a beatdown that was. That wasn't even that was not even a close game at all. I think they do. I mean, if they finish up, USF would be 10-2, 11-2, 11-2 with the championship.
Yeah.
James Madison would be 12-1 with the championship.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to say that USF's schedule was by far more difficult than James Madison's.
If ECU wins the conference championship and a 10-2 ECU or 10 what's ECU's rank? I had it up.
James Madison might get in on that. James Madison plays App State this week, and then I think they can pretty much win out on the other games, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the scenario gets better for the Sun Belt in that regard. So James Madison, here's how it lays out. The Sun Belt is the only conference left with divisions, right? So on the east side, you have James Madison 1, Coastal Carolina 2. That matchup will be the last one of the regular season. If JMU wins this week, that will be essentially the game to make it to the conference championship for the East. Because if Coastal wins that one, they'll then own the tiebreaker over the one-loss team, and then the Sun Belt has played themselves out. On the west side, you've got Arkansas State, and actually it was Troy and Southern Miss, and that scenario got ruined last night because Troy lost to ODU. They've essentially played themselves out. Southern Miss isn't going to lose 2 down the stretch. However, Southern Miss is 5-0 in conference, 7-2 overall. So if they win out and James Madison plays them in the conference championship, they may have a really good argument that they're playing a better team that's hotter at that time of year, maybe than the American. Depends on who makes it for the American. But then you've got the Wazoo game, which isn't great, as you mentioned, Sam. It's not Wazoo of old, but it's better than any team that they could have played in the Sun Belt as far as strength of schedule is concerned. So they will get a weird bump here at the end of the year. Also, Coastal Carolina plays South Carolina that same week. It'll be interesting if that could be an upset. Then you're looking at a stronger resume if they can beat Coastal to then make it to the conference championship. So they could really strengthen a little bit more before the conference championship game. I don't know if it'll be enough, but I would say, again, that's going to be the argument that they'll try and make to bolster their resume, because you're right. It's up until this point, it's been weak. ODU, obviously their biggest win and best win of the season to note. So they didn't really have the ranked teams to have shots at like some of the other teams in the American did this year.
Yeah. And we're going to talk. Let's go down here and talk about them now. James Madison, the lone loss, 14 points to Louisville. So that's not a bad loss. It's not as good as Boise State's loss to Oregon last year, but it's still not a bad loss. So,
Well, and I got a note on that too.
Yep.
And this is something that, again, unless the committee's paying attention and have talked to people and maybe even watched the game, James Madison's number one quarterback was not healthy to start the year. In fact, people thought he wasn't even going to be ready to play 4, 5, 6 weeks into the season because it was an ACL injury. And we know those take a while to recover.
Yeah.
They were running a 2-quarterback set with Matt Sluka, which Mountain West fans are familiar with. So he can't throw the ball real well. It's not a great passer. So they were doing a lot of runs, quarterback runs, with both him and Barnett a little bit in that game. It was horrible offensively. It was a horrible demonstration of their offense. They've vastly improved throughout the rest of this season. Barnett's really hit his stride. He ran a 70-plus yard touchdown run the other week where he literally ran away from the defender. So you're looking at a quarterback in an offense that is definitely better than what they showed against Louisville, with a defense that hasn't really fallen off either. So again, if they take that into account, you're looking at a team that, if they rematch with Louisville now, could be a different scenario. I know that's probably not what they're really going to do, but it's a note that they probably should be aware of.
Can Southern Miss, we kind of halfway alluded to it, but can they make the CFP if they beat JMU in the SBC championship game, if a 3-loss team wins the American?
Oof. I hadn't thought about that scenario. That's it. You said you got the good questions, and you sure did come up with them. I'm going to say the fact that Southern Miss isn't even on the tip of anybody's tongue right now really hurts them. Anybody who's not being talked about, it really hurt. Like, nobody's being talked about from the MAC, obvious reasons.
Right.
Unfortunately for you guys out west, like, Mountain West really isn't even at the tip of people's tongues right now. And I feel like at this point in the season, you have to have at least be in the conversation, and I don't see Southern Miss being a part of it. Now, if that crazy scenario happens, maybe they'd have a shot, but even then, I think from what we've seen from the committee, what we've seen nationally, the American is going to be favored even still.
Yeah. And you said Mountain West not on anybody's tip of their tongue, and we just lost our only real advocate, who said Boise State absolutely belongs in the conversation whenever the chair stepped down this last week. So it makes it even worse for the G5, because it seems like the G5 schools advocate isn't there anymore.
Right.
I still go back to this idea that if James Madison's wins out here, that would mean they beat App State, they beat Washington State, they'd beat Coastal Carolina, and then who'd you say more than likely they would beat Southern Miss?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a pretty solid 4-game run right there. Name recognition, at least, and if you get USF to win out, I still like going back to this. If Duke wins this ACC, man, I still think that it's going to be real challenging to say a 1-loss James Madison and a 2-loss USF don't deserve to both be in above a 4-loss Duke.
Yeah.
And I just don't see, especially, nothing against Connecticut. Connecticut's actually a good football team, and Mora's done a really good job of bringing that program back to life there. But Duke just went on the road and lost that football game last week. They had no business losing that game if they wanted to be. So I really think G5 fans should be fans of Duke.
Yeah.
And winning out and getting into that,
And you look too, you have East Carolina, or excuse me, not East, Tulane, who one of their signature wins is against Duke.
Correct.
They beat Northwestern, Duke, Memphis, and their only bad loss has been that hiccup against UTSA. So, and then of course they lost to Ole Miss as well. And I believe they've got the easiest remaining schedule too, with FAU and Temple and Charlotte, with Temple being the best chance to win. And let's be honest, unless they play another UTSA style game, they're not losing to Temple. So if USF ends up being the conference champion, it's going to be because they beat Tulane, who beat Duke. And then you go, is it going to be JMU or is it going to be Duke in your scenario? And then that's where your 4-loss versus 2-loss comes into play, or one loss comes into play.
Yeah, and that solid and that the finish off. Not that Coastal Carolina is great this year, but they do have people recognize the name, especially after the last few years. And then they should beat a pretty decent team in the championship game. I don't know. I still like that. I still like the two G5s getting in if Duke can win. And Duke's a funny team, man. Sometimes they look great, and other times they look terrible.
Yeah.
Much like Louisville here.
Oh yeah, this is getting crazy.
No one wants to win this game here. I mean, I'm literally no one wants to win.
Not at all. And I think Clemson pretty much is going to seal it the next play. But one more note on Coastal Carolina. I think you're right. You look at their record at 6-3, not overly impressive. They started off horrible this season. They've won their last 3 games, scoring 40 points or more in all of them after a quarterback change. So once again, kind of like the James Madison start with the weird offense, this Coastal team is now a vastly different team than they were to start the season. They've still been pretty solid defensively, but the offense has lit a fire, and they are second in the conference in scoring at this point, which they did not look like they'd be anywhere near that when they started it off.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, if Coastal Carolina can beat South Carolina next week, if that could happen, and the way South Carolina's been playing, it's not out of the question, considering South Carolina will be looking ahead to play Clemson, and that that's going to be a big game. Even though Clemson's going to be 5-5 maybe at that point. Yep, 5-5. They just won.
Yep.
So,
I love college football.
That if Coastal Carolina could beat South Carolina, that's going to give a lot of street cred to that G5 team coming out of the Sun Belt, and in that scenario, I could see where we talked about Duke winning. I could definitely see them getting in. So, I think, South Carolina could be I don't know if Coastal Carolina's got the horses offensively to play against that defense, which is still a pretty solid defense. But if they get into a scoring fest and South Carolina has to score with them, that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. The weird thing is that you just mentioned, now this loss to Louisville early looks worse though, right? Because now they've lost to Clemson and they've lost this past week. So like the loss for them, it's like, oh, that was a quality loss though, right? Like now it's not so great.
Right.
It's all weird. It gets convoluted real bad here.
Yeah. Go ahead, Todd.
I was going to say Dabo running off the field like he just won a national championship.
Yeah, it seems like he lost the locker room kind of early. It looks like they're starting to come back around, and we made mention of this throughout the year. It doesn't look like the players like playing with each other. The most consistent team in the nation, 80% return rate, and they're 5-5. So it's like the players are fed up with each other. Maybe they need to bring in some new blood instead of trying to retain everybody. I don't know, but it was really shocking to see that kind of talent, that kind of star power returning 80%, number one in the nation, and then laying a 5-loss season on you. That's unacceptable.
No.
Looking at Memphis, I think they must win out if they're going to have any kind of chance to make the championship game. They can still make the championship game. A bunch of people got to lose by teams they shouldn't lose to. Pop, they got derailed against UAB and Tulane. What are your thoughts on Memphis?
That signature win against Arkansas, and their worst loss was to UAB.
And that UAB loss, it's pretty bad. they went down there and I don't think anybody gave UAB the time of day, and they came out and just smacked them with it. And then Arkansas's beaten Arkansas would be undefeated if it wasn't for Arkansas. The remaining schedule: East Carolina and Navy for Memphis. They could win out, and especially if Hovarth isn't able to go. or gets re-injured. So
yeah, this game against East Carolina is going to be tough, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
They're on the
Just
road at East Carolina. That's going to be a real challenging game right there.
yeah, and East Carolina, they had a 7-point loss at NC State, 21-point loss to BYU, 5-point loss to Tulane, and then they blew everybody else out. So they're not a bad team, especially where NC State beat Georgia Tech. So I mean, is that really a bad loss for NC State?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. And then your 20-point loss to BYU is probably your worst loss, but BYU's ranked where they're at. Maybe if they play them later in the season, maybe if they played them instead of Texas Tech, BYU did not show up to that game. You got to wonder if these teams that lose to these ranked opponents, Pop, you see them lose to the ranked opponents, and then you see the ranked opponents just get absolutely annihilated in a later week, and you sit there and you're looking at the screen, you're looking at scores, going, well, why couldn't they play like that against us? What do you think goes through the minds of people whenever they see that, knowing that you probably could have beat them if you played that team versus the team that you played?
I experienced one time we needed to get into the playoffs, and we had to have a final win against a quality opponent, and we got up and we had to win that game, and that's what our focus was, and that's what everything was about. And when we won it, it was all of a sudden the air just went out of ourselves. It was, okay, we accomplished that, and we didn't have our eyes set on the goal of winning the next game. Everything we had was invested in the one game that we won. And so then after that happened, we never showed up. So I just think it comes down to, focus, motivation, coaches being able to keep perspective on who they're playing and what they ought to be doing. Yeah.
Look, we're talking about 18 to 22-year-old kids here.
Yeah.
They, I have a son that plays Division III college. Tomorrow's his senior last game of his football career, right? And, you just never know what you're going to get when you got, 18 to 22-year-old kids out there, just anything can happen.
Yeah. I mean, you got 24-year-old Carson Beck, though.
Well, and we still have a question now exactly how old Diego Pavia is. Is he 23? Is he 24? He said he's born in 20. I saw that yesterday. He was born in 2000, whatever, 2004 or 2000, whatever he's saying. He's a year younger than we're saying he is. So, yes. Well, there's COVID. These guys are still playing on this COVID year, some of these guys.
Right.
That got that extra year. So, but back to East Carolina, I think they could beat Memphis. Yeah. But the problem is they got to go to UTSA, man, and UTSA just doesn't lose at home.
Right. Yeah, I've had the privilege of being able to attend a couple of UTSA games whenever we lived in San Antonio. And I actually went whenever they played Arizona State in 2016, and Arizona State was ranked. They had like a 2-touchdown lead headed into the fourth quarter and ended up losing at the end of the fourth quarter. So it was one of those, like, man, it was so electric. You walking down the halls and everyone's saying UTSA, and it's just fun times. It's good times. They're a fun team to watch play, especially in person. So I actually, at the start of the year, had UTSA set as my pick to win the AAC, and they've kind of fallen off. But USF has been hand and foot better than anybody gave them credit for being. So,
yeah. Well, USF is a coach. All these coaching vacancies. What happened to Dom?
He's coming back.
Oh, yeah. Alex Grolsch is a name that's not been on the tip of everyone's tongue here, but I think if he wins this this conference championship this year and gets USF into the playoffs, he's going to be a highly sought after coach for some school here. I don't know. I honestly think Penn State should be talking to him. The guy knows how to build a program.
Yeah.
He's a former, played at Ohio State. He understands the Big Ten, but maybe he'll fill in a position that someone else loses in another, we're going to have a lot of, because remember, every coaching change that we're going to see is going to be a domino effect of like 4,
Right.
because like Penn State's going to hire a coach and that team's going to have to replace that coach and that team's going to have to replace the coach that they hire. So, we could have, 10 coaching vacancies that end up to 40 coaching changes by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah. The coaching carousel this year is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Navy. You're a Navy fan. They lost back-to-back games to UNT and Notre Dame by multiple scores. They just haven't looked like themselves. Quarterback injury aside. They have to beat USF to keep the AAC and slim CFP hopes alive. They got USF at Memphis and then the Army-Navy game, which doesn't count towards anything because everything will be decided before then. Do you see a path, if Hovarth is healthy, do you see a path forward for Navy, or are they written off?
Well, I mean, if they can win this game on Saturday, tomorrow,
Yep.
tonight, this morning, what time is it? It's 11:16.
Yeah.
So in just a few hours, if they can win that game, they have a chance, yes, because then they just have to play Memphis. But the problem is that they just aren't the team they were last year. I just don't see how they're gonna dismantle USF the way that USF's been playing.
Yeah.
Look, USF did not have a good game against Miami at that third game of the year, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But if you look back on that game, remember that thing had like 3 different rain delays in that game. They had the stoppage, and then they had to come back out, and they played, and then they stopped it again, and it was a really challenging game to get any kind of momentum build up. And at that point, Miami, was playing extremely well. So I think they played Miami better than the score said, at the end of the day, just because of the situation with the rain delays. I didn't see that game, but I was following it on my phone, and every time I looked down, it was a different delay. It was a delay here, a delay there, a delay.
Right.
So, but I just don't think Navy's defense can stand up to it. Now, I will say this, though. I thought if Blake Horvath would have played against Notre Dame last week, like Notre Dame struggled in the first half, and then they came out in the second half and popped 2 touchdowns in 4 minutes, and then it was over.
Well,
I thought
from driving rain to driving sleet to driving snow. So
yeah, that was right to fat fluffy snow that was actually sticking at the end.
Yeah,
but Navy couldn't. I just don't see how Navy's going to beat USF and Memphis in basically back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, it is a tough order to give.
Yeah,
the Mountain West has SDSU, San Diego State lurking in the shadows. Boise State still trying to claw their way back into consideration. If losing Maddox-Madsen, who we found out today may not be season ending. Not today. Found out this week. May not be season ending. But Cutforth. There's vodka in my drink. Trust me. Cutforth has said that he's looking for the start, and he's going to play like he's not going to lose the start. So that's the kind of determination we have in that quarterback right now for Boise State. If Cutforth can cut it, pun intended, and get the offense back on track, beat San Diego State. San Diego State just had a pitiful showing against Hawaii with driving rain conditions and just absolutely laid a goose egg against them. Same type of weather Saturday night against Boise State. but it's at home without having to go to Hawaii. There's a possibility Boise State could win that game and then find themselves in the Mountain West Conference Championship. And let's say nightmare scenario, James Madison loses a game between here in the championship game, and then Southern Miss makes the championship game, beats James Madison. Does the Mountain West Conference champion pop? If Duke wins the ACC, the James Madison loses the American, and Boise State wins the Mountain West Conference, does Boise State backdoor their way into the playoffs? And if they do, will it be considered, or would it be seen as deserving, or will they basically be like, oh, we're just putting you here because nobody else fits the bill?
I love Boise State. I say hardly ever anything contrary about them, even when it is. But the play that I have seen, the offensive coordination that I've seen, I really think there are more deserving teams to have that spot. We'll be back. We'll have a better team to field. We'll be more competitive than what we've been this year. I would cheer all the way if we could backdoor into it, but there's some good teams out there to deserve that spot.
Yeah,
this year.
What are your thoughts, Todd?
Where is UNLV sitting at right now? Are they
Who
two
cares?
losses? Are they two losses? Is that who are they gonna play? Who would Boise play in the championship game?
So right now it's going to be SDSU even with a loss, because it'll be SDSU's first loss.
Well, no, SDSU lost last week.
I mean, oh yeah, you're right. Because
so they'd have two losses.
Yeah.
Hawaii's only got two losses in conference.
Right. So Boise State would be, if Boise State wins. So you have Hawaii's 2 loss, New Mexico's 2 loss, UNLV's 2 loss, Fresno State 2 loss, Utah 2 loss. Holy cow!
So in Hawaii, and UNLV plays Utah State. They play Hawaii. They play Nevada. So I mean, you could end up with a pretty decent game here in the Mountain West Championship game. Like you could have a UNLV Boise State rematch. They played already this year, right? And Boise beat them. That Hawaii team last week looked pretty good, even though they looked terrible in the first week against Stanford. They looked pretty good this week or last week. I don't know. I mean, I think they could. I think the Mountain West winner could get back in the conversation if we saw some chaos happen in the American, which with the way the schedule's lined up, you could see it.
Dom, I know you're going to be JMU till you die in this argument, but
yeah. Well, I mean, the first part of it, I was looking at Fresno State's remaining schedule. They play Wyoming, San Jose, and who was the last one? Nevada, Wyoming, Utah State, and San Jose State. That's what it is. And so I think they're going to stand a great chance to get to a championship game over there in the Mountain West, because I think obviously you guys and SDSU, one of the two will take each other out for the most part.
Yeah. If San Diego State does win, and in that scenario Fresno State wins out, Fresno State will actually get it because they own the head-to-head to Boise State.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Unless some of these other teams own the head-to-head against Fresno State, in which case there's a whole lot of tie-breaking scenarios that I don't have to worry about until that last week of the year, so I don't care.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'll stick with the fact that I would love to see 2 G5 teams in, but I also just don't see them doing it. It would. Those 2 G5 teams would both have to be like 1-loss teams. Then they could really make the argument that they're both not only deserving, but they actually are good enough to compete in this tournament. Where I think you got a 2 or 3 loss team. Well, I don't think a 3-loss team, but if you got a 2-loss team, then you've got you're going to be everyone's going to make the argument that the SEC team that got left out should have been in instead, type of thing. And I don't see the committee doing that.
Yeah, but I don't. But the thing about it is, it's not the SEC team can't be it. It's the 5 highest ranked conference champions,
True.
and it doesn't matter. It's not between an SEC team and James Madison or the winner of the American or potentially a Boise. It's a difference between Duke winning the ACC and those teams, and that is where I can see the committee saying, "Look, the committee's already said it last week. Now they changed it up this week a little bit and moved Miami and Georgia Tech up a little bit from where they were." But they went into last week. What was the highest ranked? The first, it was 14th, I think, right? With Virginia was like the 14th ranked team. So they've already are saying that at least in the first poll, not this last week, the week before, they're already saying that a 1-loss ACC team at that point was not better than 14th in the country.
Yeah.
So I don't think, I'm telling you, if Duke wins this conference, they are not getting the ACC in. Now, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Duke's going to win the conference.
No,
so it could be a moot point, but I really don't think that they're going to put an 8-4 team in over a potential. So let's just say USF wins out. Their 2 losses are to who'd they lose to in conference?
Miami and Memphis.
Yeah, Miami and Memphis. A team that beat an SEC team in the Miami Hurricanes.
Yep.
And then you have James Madison sitting there at 1 loss with wins over East Carolina, Washington State, especially if they go out and dominate. Is it Washington State they play?
Yeah.
Yeah. If they go out and blow Washington State out of the water, then you got this comparison, Ole Miss and James Madison in that same similar game, both at home, So, I mean, if I was a group of 5, I'm rooting for Duke to win it, and then but I just don't see him putting an 8-4 team in. I don't care what conference they come out of. If the winner of the SEC was 8-4, I'd have a hard time seeing them put them in, I mean, they'd probably be a better chance than Duke, but I don't know. I don't think they will.
Yeah. And Virginia's coming off their loss against Wake, and then now they have to go to Duke to play them tomorrow. And then, of course, Duke's coming off their loss to UConn. So you got 2 teams coming off their loss. Both of them are going to be looking to right the ship, so it could be a very entertaining game. And then Duke has North Carolina and then Wake Forest at home. So they very well could. You could see Duke go undefeated the rest of the way.
Minnesota just scored. Make it 28-13 here.
But then you have them playing either a Georgia Tech or a Pitt, and Pitt plays Notre Dame this week. They probably have the hardest remaining schedule out there.
Does Pitt have what's their quarterback? Is he a freshman?
Freshman from Oregon, Ohio here.
Yeah, and then haven't they won their last 5?
They have, but if you look at their schedule, it's not been the toughest. They definitely have the toughest schedule. They got Notre Dame, then Georgia Tech on the road, and then they got to play Miami at home.
So, they are my miracle pick because that freshman quarterback, if they don't fill his head with too many X's and O's and let the kid play off instinct, I think Pitt's got a chance to run out.
Well, if Pitt wins out, that I would put Pitt in the playoffs with 2-loss Pitt team with that schedule. That means they would have beat Notre Dame, Miami, Georgia Tech, and more than likely whoever's at that point, whoever's left standing in the ACC, probably Duke. That would be heck. At that point, I'd probably give them the 6 or 7 spot in the playoffs.
So if Pitt beats Notre Dame. Notre Dame's remaining schedule is Syracuse and Stanford. Not a real powerhouse schedule to get back into it.
No.
A Pitt win, does that knock Notre Dame out of the playoffs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Pitt would Notre Dame with 3 losses, they're out.
Yeah. What do you think,
to
Don?
see it. I was grown up a Penn State fan, so to see Notre Dame out, I'll take it every time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a look at some brackets, shall we?
Yeah.
Maybe. Let me get this pulled up. I had to go in and get my conference realignment bracket or deal, and
Oh yeah. We screwed you up with that one, huh?
yeah. Thanks, Pop, for popping off of that. So the current Week 12 you do your own show then. The current Week 12 CFP bracket, if the season ended today, this is what it would look like. You'd have Texas sneaking in at number 10 with Georgia Tech, the perceived, based on current record and current ranking, they would be the perceived conference champion. They'd get there at number 11, and then USF would be your 12 seed. Kind of the bottom, the teams we've been talking about of can they get in? Texas being a bubble team for sure. We'll probably, depending on how the games go this week, probably talk a little bit more about them next week. As we get closer and closer to the end of the season, we'll be looking at those teams looking to make that final push. And like I said last week, we can go over every team and say the same thing every week. I'm trying to make this show fresh every week, so you're not hearing the same regurgitated BS that you hear on ESPN. So we're going to talk about different things. But the CFP currently has no change in their top 4. Number 1, Ohio State. 2, Indiana. 3, Texas A&M. And 4, Alabama. Do you guys agree, Locke? That's pretty much how it's most likely going to end unless A&M stumbles.
Yeah, I think so.
You mean at the end of the season? This is how the bracket. No.
If the season ended today, this is how the bracket would look. My question is, by the end of the season, in A&M, I think they're the closest team that's going to have a stumbling block out of the top 4. Alabama, a close second with their game against OU. Do you think this is how the top 4 is going to end up looking by the end of the year?
Oh, by the end of the year.
I love the tough ones. I love that sound.
I'm going to say no.
Yeah. And good cause. We'll hold your no because we're gonna show your bracket here in a minute. The 8 through 10 is probably the most controversial in here, especially with Texas being in there and Notre Dame being so high. A lot of people probably say they need to be number 10. I think I have them at number 9 too, even though I say that. I have to go back in and look. But Ole Miss at number 7, some people say they could be a little bit higher. I actually have them lower. What do you guys think of the first round matchups? Season ended today. This was the first round matchups. Do we get good football, or is the CFP ruining the first round by intentionally putting together blowout type scenarios so that they can go back to their 14 playoff and eliminate anybody else having a chance?
I think these are interesting games. I mean, Georgia Tech and Texas Tech, that could be a very interesting game.
Yeah.
They're not going to go back to the 14 playoff scenario. They lose money.
Yeah, the question is, are they going to go 14 or 16, you know, in the future?
Yeah. 16 is the next progression.
Yeah.
I think as much as I don't like Notre Dame, I do think a game with Oregon would be a very interesting match. That 8-9 matchup, I think it would be good football. I'll say that. I'd be really interested to see what USF could do against Georgia. To be honest with you, like you said, Georgia offense not kind of what it's been in the past. The defense is going to be really good, but I think USF, the way that they call their plays too, it's they've got some trickery, some fancy stuff that they'll pull out, and I just think it would be a fun game to watch.
Yeah. All right, and Todd, this is your. Nope, that's not your bracket. Hold on. Yeah, it is. There it is. Okay. It just took a while to change on my screen. This is your bracket. This is your end of year bracket. I have your current top 25 is there on the left, and I kind of took the liberty to kind of guess who you think your conference champions will be based on your top 25. You can tell me if I'm wrong, and I'll own it. But this is your current top 25 there on the right side, and then your bracket of what you would how you think the CFP is going to end at the end of the year. Go ahead and give us a rundown of your thought process and why you chose what you chose.
Well, we took Ohio State playing. So I think Ohio State and Indiana are going to go into the championship game both undefeated. And the loser of that game will drop only one spot below where they're at now. So if Indiana's at 2, they're only going to drop to 3 in that game, unless it's a complete whitewashing out. I got, in this scenario, Alabama winning the SEC, which actually, in my prediction here, I got Texas A&M losing 2 games. I got them losing to Texas and to Alabama, which would knock them out, which would dump Texas Tech into the top 4 spot with a 1-loss conference champion. I've got Georgia Tech winning out and beating Georgia, putting them at the 5 spot. Notre Dame and Georgia there at the 8 and 9, which again could be the worst game for the number 1 seed to have to play when this is. I think the 1 seed here is going to get screwed in this setup year after year. Because I think the 8 and 9 seeds are always going to be like the 3rd best team in each conference, and that could be challenging. Oregon at Ole Miss would be a fun game. And I got USC sneaking in here with the win over Oregon, a 2-loss team, putting only 4 SEC teams in instead of 5. So that's kind of my thought process there. Remember, last week I had Ole Miss at the 4 spot.
Yeah.
And I almost put them back there again, but I think a 1-loss Texas Tech with a championship will outweigh Ole Miss with 1 loss and no championship.
Yeah. What would you say? And I was sitting here thinking about this whenever you talked about the 8-9 game pretty much screwing the number 1 seed. Flip 1 and 4 and 2 and 3. To where the 2 is playing the 11-6, the 3's playing the 10-7, the 1's playing the 12-5, and the 4's playing the 9-8.
Right.
I like that better too. I mean, for the top seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know why they did it this way. Just, it seems like, that's the way it does in the NCAA tournament. But the problem is in the NCAA tournament, the 8-9 seeds are generally not
Notre Dame and Georgia.
They're generally the 5th or 6th best team in a. So now you got the 5th or 6th best ACC team against the 5th or 6th Big Ten team, not the 2nd or 3rd. In this instance, Georgia would be like the 2nd best team potentially in the conference at the end of the season. They just didn't get to the championship game,
right?
So yeah, I think when it goes to 16 teams, I'm a big proponent of no buys, and maybe then you got 1 playing 16, and then from there you're playing the 8-9. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I think all of this is subject to change, right, Pops? It's certainly going to change.
All right, and we got one more. Pop, are you trying to say something? I heard you heavy, Bree, like you were about to
No,
talk.
the only constant in this is change.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my brackets are a little bit different because I do a different a weighting system. I call my top 25 the Prove It Top 25 because it really does take on the field play and your offensive consistency and your strength of schedule and everything into effect. And then I put it in a big formula blender, spit it out, and this is what landed on the wall. Number 1, Indiana. 2, Ohio State. 3, Oregon. And 4, Texas A&M. A lot of people are saying you can't put 3 Big Ten teams in the top 4, and I say yes, I can. Oregon, yeah, it's a little head scratcher, but against outside of Indiana, they really haven't given you reason to say they absolutely don't belong, and they only lost to Indiana by 10. So that's my top 4. I have Ole Miss at number 10, and Georgia at 7. Yeah, Georgia's a fairly decent SEC team. Alabama, I think they're going to lose at least 1, maybe 2 more games, but still stay into the conference. Georgia Tech is going to win the Atlantic Conference, but I don't think they're going to do enough to move up in the standings that much. And whenever I said a lot of people had Notre Dame at number 10, and I griped at them being at number 9. Well, I put them at number 8, so I was even griping at myself. But Notre Dame and Utah, that could be a really interesting matchup. Utah, I think, is going to backdoor their way into the Big 10 or Big 12 title game with some BYU is going to fall apart even more than what they did against Texas Tech, and I think Utah is going to find their way into the championship game and maybe even make a good run at Texas Tech, which is going to get them into the playoffs. And then, of course, Texas Tech winning the Big 12 at number 5. And really, there's between number 4 and number 10 on my top 25 is less than 1,000th of a point difference. So that just tells you how close that metric is that I use. And really, if you have 1 less first down or 1 less yard a game average, you could go from number 9 to number 11. Easy. So just the way that my metric runs. And by the end of the year, we'll see how close I get. People may say, you're full of it. And I say, okay, well, talk about it in the comments and boost my numbers.
Well, Pitt's going to beat Notre Dame, so that'll get rid of them.
And I do have Pitt at number 25, so they are in my top 25. I've got South Florida at 19 and James Madison at number 20. So we got there. My rankings rank all 136 teams. So San Diego State right now is number 41 in my rankings. Kennesaw State, the CUSA champion, 51, and then Ohio. Maction, I miss Maction. It's number 62 for Ohio, and then, of course, the Pac-12 right now is Oregon State at number 127 because they hold the edge over Washington until the last game of the season. Then maybe Washington's going to win it. So, but that's that. If you don't agree, I welcome you to comment on everything and tell me why you don't agree, and then like and share so that your friends and family can comment and tell me why they don't agree. And by the end of it, I'm viral, and I don't care that you don't agree.
We talked about this scenario of 2 G5 teams multiple times tonight, and, I was thinking about it here. If Notre Dame loses and they're out of the playoff hunt, we're giving a spot to Notre Dame right now, right? That could be the second G5 team spot that could get in. Because at that point, let's just say Alabama and Georgia win tomorrow. That's basically giving Texas and Oklahoma 3 losses. Say if Vanderbilt loses to Tennessee, that gives them 3 losses. There's another scenario to get the 2 G5 teams in with the Notre Dame loss.
Yeah.
That could definitely be, it also could give us the unfortunate 6 SEC teams in too, depending on how it works out. But it definitely could it definitely could get a second G5 team in if
Would they give if Notre Dame loses, USF and James Madison both went out. Duke wins the ACC. Maybe that Big 12 fan should be rooting for that to get a second Big 12 team in there, whether it be Utah or BYU.
Yeah, I think they should.
Oh my God, this is the worst. I'm sorry, guys. This was the worst call in the history of college football that just happened on this Oregon
They called
game.
that a touchdown?
They called that a touchdown. That is absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
That should be looked at by somebody in this officiating crew, which is a Big Ten crew, should be eliminated from college football because there is no way that was a touchdown. Impossible. Sorry, I got to get on a Pops rant here, but that was that guy's foot. I mean, did you see it, Dom?
I saw like the slow motion, and I didn't see like the full array of it, but what I did see, I was like, yeah, that's not going to be a touchdown.
There's no way that was a catch. Yeah. Oh my God, that's terrible. Sorry, I didn't get. I mean, that was just one of the worst. That was one of the worst officiated plays I've ever seen. I will say this: when it comes to officiating, I think we should have what the ACC has, where we get to listen to the conversation between the thing, because there is no way that was a touchdown.
Yeah,
no way.
The UFL really put that into perspective last. I don't know if you watched any spring ball this year, but I love being and it ticked me off too because you hear Blind Dino, who he will always be Blind Dino to me now, say, "Oh yeah, I see this here, but it's in slow motion, and if it bang bang on the field, we're not going to overturn it, even though I see it in slow." What are you looking at then? If you're looking at it in slow motion to see it, why even review it to begin with? So,
well, there's two bad calls. Louisville's call earlier in the game today, they reached a ball out. Kid touched a pylon with the ball, but fumbled it. It should have been a fumble through the end zone, which should have gave touchback in Clemson the ball, but they called that, and it was clearly evident that the ball was touching the pylon while it was out of his hand.
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't know. These officiating has gotten worse and worse and worse as we get, which unfortunately for someone who's been on the bad side of officiating and potentially cost the national championship in 2019 with the Clemson catch and fumble that Ohio State returned, and then they said wasn't a catch, even though the guy took 3 steps. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that could cost it. That's the nightmare scenario for these teams is the officiating, you know?
Yep.
Because that was not a touchdown.
And, whenever they brought betting to college sports, that it's kind of, it doesn't matter who, you can make all the rules you want about not being able to bet on the games, but you got with technology the way it is and proxies that you can use, you know that they are.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
we're almost to midnight here on the East Coast, so we gotta wrap it up sometime, Sam. I gotta get to bed.
Oh no, we need you not healthy. We're gonna run through these games to watch this week real quick. We did cross the 2-hour mark, and so we're gonna run through these top 25s real quick. Let me set this screen. There we go. Or not top 25s, top games. Wisconsin at Indiana. Indiana's a 29.5-point favorite. Wisconsin coming off a win over Washington. So Indiana really can't count them out. I think Indiana wins over Wisconsin. I'm just going to run through these guys. If you want to interject into anything, holler out and say, yeah, I agree, or no, wait, you're just way out there.
I just have a question of why you included that in the games of the week. That's going to be a slaughter.
It is, but I put it there because Wisconsin beat Washington last week, which everyone thought was going to be a slaughter. So If Wisconsin can duplicate their success from last week at Indiana, and Indiana looking ahead to next week, it has its potential to be a trap game. South Carolina at Texas A&M, another potential trap game. A&M's a 19.5-point favorite. A&M's got Texas on the horizon, so very easy to overlook. Notre Dame at Pitt. This is probably going to be one of the games of the week. most entertaining games of the week. Notre Dame's 12.5-point favorite. CFP is looking for a reason to add more SEC teams, in my opinion. A loss here would spell doom for Notre Dame, and give Pitt a confidence boost heading into the final leg of the ACC schedule.
Take Pitt and the points.
The G5 game of the week is South Florida versus Navy. If Hovarth is healthy, USF's a 9.5-point favorite. It's a must-win game for both teams. It's most likely a win or go home, and losers likely eliminated from the CFP. At OU at Alabama, Bama's a 6.5-point favorite. It's a must-win for OU to keep their playoff hopes alive. They're currently on that bubble that we'll most likely talk about next week. Alabama's absolutely can lose that game too. Memphis at East Carolina. ECU is a 2.5-point favorite. The loser is out of the AAC and the CFP. Memphis may already be out of the CFP as it sits now. This is going to be the game to tell if East Carolina is a contender or a pretender. And we got Florida at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 14.5-point favorite. It is a trap game for them. Florida almost beat Georgia last week, and they might be looking for get some kind of upset to end the year, kind of build more momentum for next year. We'll see how that goes. Has potential for a trap game with Ole Miss looking ahead. Then Texas at Georgia is probably going to be the game of the week. Georgia's a 5.5-point favorite. It's a must-win game for Texas. They're sitting there on that bubble. We did see them at number 10 in this week's CFP. So you got to wonder if the committee did that on purpose to give Georgia another top 10 win to solidify their spot. We'll see. Texas is, like we said earlier, it's the third time in 18 months they've played Georgia, and Texas A&M's been in the SEC for 14 years, and they've only played them once. So your nightcap, well, your second nightcap, TCU at BYU. BYU is a 4.5-point favorite. BYU's eliminated with the loss if they're not already eliminated now. And then, of course, the Mountain West game of the week, the little guy game of the week, the ones that are clawing for their spot to just be on the tip of everybody's tongue in the CFP conversation. Boise State at San Diego State. San Diego State's 2.5-point favorite. It's going to be a rainy mess. It's a must-win game for both teams to keep their slim CFP hopes alive. So we got a lot of good football up. A lot of football that's going to surprise or shape the landscape of college football over the next few weeks. What games are you most looking forward to, Todd?
Wait, is it going to be raining in San Diego?
Yeah.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. Like I think they said it's going to be like 90% of the rain that they get all year is going to happen Saturday.
Wow.
Jeez.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be interesting. San Diego State. See, I thought San Diego State last week against Hawaii in the rain would have the advantage because of the running game.
Yeah.
But they did not have the advantage at all in that game. So, I'm looking forward to. Obviously, I'm looking for carnage in some of these games. So I'm looking at Alabama losing to Oklahoma, Texas beating Georgia kind of things would be fun. Old Miss beating Florida. I mean, Florida beating Old Miss would be, kind of fun too. So carnage in the SEC is always fun for me. I think the Navy USF game, if Blake can play, maybe they did hold him out last week because they didn't want him to get more hurt against Notre Dame, and they know that this game against USF is going to be right there. They have to win this game. That would be an interesting game. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Don't have much thoughts on anything else, other than, can we see these couple teams lose? Could South Carolina beat A&M? I don't think so, but maybe. And Pitt, I guess, what is Pitt? Pitt holds like 4 teams' chances to get to the playoffs in their hands.
Right?
Like, who would have thought that?
Me.
And we're allowed to call them Pitt again. For a while we had to call them Pittsburgh, but now we can go back to Pitt. So.
Yeah, last year they started out hot. What was it, 7-0, and then they just completely fell off at the end of the year. this year it's like they're doing it backwards. They started out kind of lukewarm, and then now they're starting to heat up at the end of the year. So maybe that's a better scenario for them, better setup. Dom, you don't have to be limited. I know you cover with Sunbelt Syndicate. You cover all your Sunbelt games. You don't have to be limited to our games of the week here if you don't want to. What games are you most looking forward to this week?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing James Madison in person, right? I want to see, like, really tried and true right in front of me. Like, how do they look? App State has been competitive in their last several games. They've lost the last 3, but they've had a shot to win all 3. And App State has beaten JMU the last 2 years, once home, once away. So I think this game could be one of those trap games that you're talking about for some of these other schools. This could be James Madison. So how do they overcome that? But on the big scale, I say Iowa, USC, something I'm really going to be interested in keeping my eyes on. That's a game that's going to have a lot of importance. And then Duke UVA, I mean, typically I would care zero about that game. But with what we've talked about, with what Duke could do and how good UVA's been throughout most of the season, I think that's really interesting. One a little bit further off the radar I'll probably keep my eye on is NC State, Miami. Like, NC State's had some games that they've played well and won, and then Miami's like fallen off here. Like, does that kind of continue, or does Miami get a victory like they should against NC State and kind of get back up a little bit higher?
Yeah, NC State's a dangerous team, man.
Yeah,
they can. If they're on it, they can beat you.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech found that out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pop, who's your games to watch?
Of course, I'm watching Pitt beat Notre Dame and Boise State beat San Diego. And generally what I do is I just watch bottom lines, and whenever somebody's looking at an upset, then I'll roll over and catch the upset, see how they're doing. But the ones I'll keep track on is Pitt and Boise State.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the OU Alabama game. If OU is going to be a contender in this CFP and keep their chances alive, it's going to be today. If they lose this Alabama game, they're out. They could win out the rest of the time and still not be able to get in, barring any unforeseen circumstances, a complete meltdown from everybody else. So OU Alabama, it's going to tell a lot. The Memphis East Carolina game for the G5, that's going to tell a lot about East Carolina's contendency. And then call me crazy, but I think Florida might pull one off against Ole Miss. I think that they almost pulled it off against Georgia, and Ole Miss had their talk about coach leaving. No matter how much you tell your players, I'm not leaving, that's still in the back of their head. It could play some mind games. So I think Florida's got a good chance to beat Ole Miss this week. Hope I'm wrong, but I think it has a chance.
I hope you're right.
And then, of course, being in Texas, the Texas-Georgia game, I want to see Texas win that one. I haven't been too much of a Georgia fan since Mark Richt left, but Texas being in there to clean up shop, I'd like to see Texas back in the CFP so Arch Manning can begin his redemption tour from the loss to Ohio State. A lot of people expect Arch Manning to be Eli Manning in his prime right off the bat and aren't letting the kid grow into his game. And I think that Texas making the CFP and being back on that national stage and Arch Manning able to navigate and take him deep in the playoffs is going to bode well for both his confidence and the fans' confidence in him. So that's the games I'm looking forward to. So.
I'm looking forward to bed.
I know, we're wrapping up. Dom, you have any final thoughts over there in the Appalachians?
No, just looking forward to finally seeing football again tomorrow in person.
Yep. Todd, final thoughts?
No, I'm with you guys. I want to see. I want to see Texas win the SEC championship. I wanted to see it last year. They lost to Georgia in the SEC championship game because. Remember, the conversation's always, if you played in the SEC, you would have 3 losses. Well, if Texas wins the championship in the SEC this year, that means they would have played 2 full years with 2 regular season losses, 1 conference championship loss, and a conference championship. That argument can no longer be made because remember, Texas wasn't a very good football team in the Big 12.
Right.
They had won 4 Big 10 championships in what, like 20 years. Like Oklahoma was the dominant team in the Big 12. It wasn't Texas. And whatever people want to say about the conferences, it was always the Big 12 that was the worst conference of the 5 conferences. It was the Pac-12, the ACC, the Big 10, and the SEC, and then it was always the Big 12. So I really want that to happen just so we can throw that argument back at SEC fan of, look, guys, you know, they say, well, if Ohio State was I say Ohio State would be more dominant if they were in the SEC because there's a lot of kids in the South that want to play at Ohio State that don't want to play in the Big 10.
Right.
That if they were in the SEC, they would play at Ohio State.
Yeah.
So I'm really a Texas fan for that reason and that reason alone, because that's an argument that can no longer be made by SEC fan if Texas wins the conference in their second year. And we all know they almost won the dang thing last year.
Yep.
They quite frankly, they should have won that game in the conference championship last year. They kind of blew it. When Gunnar Stockton came in, they didn't really know what to expect with Gunnar Stockton and kind of got out of their realm there. So that's my thought on it. I'm going to be rooting for Texas hard. I'm going to be rooting for Oklahoma hard. And obviously I'm hoping the Buckeyes don't, let Nico sneak in here and stand upright for very long.
Nico sneaking in and I'm leaving with the win in Ohio.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen, but maybe. You never know. That's why we play the games, man.
Yeah,
true.
Well, fellas, I appreciate you staying up with me tonight. And Pop, I know it's your bedtime. Dom, I know you got a long trip tomorrow. Head over, watch the JMU game. Todd, I know you've got a few steps to walk out to your garage to watch all of college football tomorrow. So you're probably better off than all of us.
No, I got to go to my son's.
You do have
so I got a 1:30 game at senior day, and I have all my devices. So I'm watching the game in the stands. I got a phone in each hand and an iPad on my lap. My wife's like, how many games can you watch? I said, I can watch 4 at a time, 1 live and 3 on my devices. So,
maybe we have your son on next week too.
Oh yeah, he probably loved that. So, all right. Well, we are officially on Saturday morning here, so we are on game day.
All right.
And all right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you all, and we'll see you all next week.
Awesome. Thanks.